Hi there, everybody. Happy Wednesday, and thank you for joining me for the Small Business Marketing Q&A show. I'm your host, Rebecca Bertoldi, and today we are diving into DIY websites. This is the ones that you're going to do yourself, and I'm going to give you some insight as to what these platforms offer so you can decide which is best for you. And I want to also share some information about platforms that may not serve you very well and avoid having you have your website recreated in about a year. So there's a lot to go over today, but first I want to again thank you for showing up. If you're here live, go ahead and type in live in the chat, and if you're watching the replay, please type replay. This gives me an idea of when people are on. And also, wherever you are watching from, please make sure that you are following along. Okay, everyone, let's dive in. So building your own website, it can be very exciting, it can be very intimidating, but there's a few things that we want to make sure that you are aware of before you decide which platform you're going to use. And God, these platforms, I feel like they're just coming out with all of them these days, and there are definitely a lot more options than there were 5 years ago and even 10 years ago. So even a year ago. So I'm sure people were home working on some stuff during the pandemic, and we're going to have a whole new wave of technology coming out. But right now, let's take a look at the ones that are most popular, and we can talk a little bit about what they're best for and if they're right for you. So, WordPress. So hands down, WordPress, if you're looking to build a custom website that can do anything you want it to do, WordPress is the one. There is so much functionality. There are so many different what they call plugins. Plugins will add functionality to our websites. That being said, WordPress sites can be a little difficult to set up as an individual. This is usually when you need to hire a professional for the WordPress ones. But if you are tech savvy, there may be ways to do that. There are tons of courses out there that show you how to manipulate WordPress. But it does come down to which theme you're using, and if you're using plugins that expand that functionality, do they all work together? That's another big one. So WordPress is what they call open source, meaning that anybody can create anything for WordPress. So anyone can make plugins, anybody can have pieces that go into there. Hi, Dawn. And there's just so much you can do. And it's really like if you're going to be building out an empire, this is the one for you. But realistically, when you're building your own website, WordPress isn't the easiest to do. It is something you may want to call a professional in on. So let's take a look at some other platforms that we can then go to and get your website built for you from you. The next one that I see recommended a lot in a lot of these groups that I'm in, people are saying that they built their website on Wix. Wix is okay. It's not my favorite. Sorry, Wix. The issue I run into with Wix all the time is, yes, it is a bit easier to design. Yes, you can start out for free, but Wix does not integrate really well with anything else. Wix is its own beast. So if you want to run Facebook ads down the line, or you want to run Google ads down the line, it's going to be harder to get your data to communicate with those other platforms. Perfect example. Recently I had a client who was all set up on Wix, email, everything. We wanted to set up a form on Facebook that people could fill out to get her a free ebook. And Wix would not connect directly to Facebook. So that when somebody filled out that form on Facebook, I had to manually go in and add those people to her system to then get the email sequence that was coming after that. That's not okay. We kind of figured that out a little late in the game, so we had to do it the manual way, but it's really something that can be a big issue. I mean, I've run into a lot of problems with it. The other thing with Wix is a couple of years ago, Google changed the rules of who they're going to send organic traffic to. And Wix did not align with a lot of what they were putting out there. So I don't see a lot of great traffic going to Wix websites because of the way it's built in the back end. All that being said, they recently did overhaul their system, maybe about 6 months ago. I'm still seeing issues, but perhaps it's something that they're working on now and could be better in the future. But for right now, I would steer clear. If you are looking for a platform that does allow you to visually build your site out without coding and all that, Bookmark has some great options there. And it's bookmark.com. I use this a lot for a lot of different websites, and they have just expanded everything so much in their builder that, my gosh, you can create anything under the sun. Naturally, of course, there's going to be restrictions with these builders, but it's not going to be the same as if you had a WordPress site and everything was customized to you, but there is so much room to grow with Bookmark. I can easily create websites in there for people, and they are able to go in and update it. And they can add their own sections, and they feel good about it, and they don't feel like they are about to break something, and that's something that you want too. You want to make sure after you do build your website, is it easy to update? Is it easy to add in a new section? So these are all things you want to consider, because you do want to expand down the line. You're not just going to stay stagnant. You want to expand. The next platform we're going to look at is Squarespace. I like Squarespace. It's kind of similar where it has that more of a design end of it, so that it's a bit more visual to build versus any kind of coding or anything like that. It does have some integrations already built in, so you can automatically connect to like MailChimp or Facebook. It has those things in there. It's limited, but there are ways to do the campaigns that you want to do. So don't discount Squarespace. You can definitely check that out. They also offer easy ways to integrate your forms and get it back to other MailChimp or other types of mail services. You can get all that put in there too. The next one we're going to take a look at is GoDaddy. GoDaddy makes it really easy to build one of their sites. They really do. But I can tell you from experience, I cannot work with GoDaddy sites that the way that we would want to, because they don't integrate well, again, with other software. And their design is pretty limited. It's typically something like you can get a section and put it onto your page, but you can't really modify much in that section. So it's like, here's your headline, here's your subhead, here's your button, but you can't really change the look of those, other than maybe colors. So again, very, very limited, and they do not even have space to add in tracking codes for a lot of the ad systems. This is something I've talked to them about many times and have had to fight with these reps, saying, there's no way for me to track these ads if I can't put the code in. And they said it's just not that kind of system. So Wix and GoDaddy, not my favorites. It does not allow for things to be connected and for you to run campaigns and to promote yourself the way I feel you should be able to promote yourself. So now let's take a look at a couple different options. So we have Weebly, which is also another visual builder. They have some great pros and cons too. Weebly makes it very easy to put a site together, but again, much like the other ones, there are limitations to what you can do. They are the ones that are definitely going in all the time and updating and refining what they have. So I feel like it's definitely a viable option, and they have gotten many partnerships connected to their software. So if you need to go with one of those types of ones, Bookmark or Weebly, you could go a long way with those. If you have an e-commerce store, we want to look at Shopify. Shopify has some wonderful options. My only caution there is that Shopify also has a lot of apps that you can get to go with your site. So it can be things like an app to install Google Analytics or an app to connect to Facebook. All of these things can also be manually connected without going through those apps, but a lot of the apps will charge you monthly to have that app service. So when you are looking at Shopify, just know that sometimes it can add up a little, really quickly with those apps, but also know that there's a way to get around those. And so maybe you build out your website. It is a very user-friendly platform. You can choose from templates really easily. But when it comes to, installing those codes and figuring out your tracking, it's so worth it to just hire somebody for a couple hours to do that, so that you're paying once in the beginning and then you don't have to pay those monthly fees after. It's so worth it, I promise. It'll also help you get your product feed connected to, say, Google shopping ads or Facebook's catalog, marketplace ads. It's a really great platform. Additionally, if you are doing an e-commerce store, if you are not needing the insane customization, so Shopify is kind of like the WordPress for e-commerce. So if you need something just a bit lower, the Ecwid websites, Ecwid shopping carts, which is also built into the Bookmark platform, by the way, they provide a really easy user experience as well. And again, you can connect additional functionality through the apps, but it is another option. And also keep in mind, with some of these, like Shopify, if you were to build an online store somewhere else, or if you ever want to transfer your store, it can be hard to do that. You can certainly export all of your product data, but it's not so much like you can, copy and paste right over. It's not how those work. A lot of these platforms, when you build in that platform, that's the only way those files can be read is in that platform. However, with Ecwid you can incorporate into WordPress sites if you decide to upgrade to WordPress one day. You can start out in Bookmark. You can have a separate login into Ecwid, but it does incorporate in different ways so that you can build sites and not have to change your actual shopping cart or your store. And lastly, my last recommendation is we also have the option of creating Google websites. So if you have set up your Google My Business listing, which you should have, you want to make sure that if you're using, you can get a free website from Google right there. If you're going to use that, that's a great one for, say, if you just want a landing page for people to come to that can contact you and see some services and just have an idea. It's great to use those because Google makes them and Google wants to send traffic to those. But it's also very, very limited. So this is only if you are looking to have a quick online presence. It's not really a website that you need. It's more you just want people to be able to find you when they search, and you want them to be able to contact you. That's what those Google sites are best for. So you can get some, create something okay in there. It'll look nice enough, and Google will send traffic there because it knows that you exist. That's the other big thing that you want to think about when you're creating a website. I do hear people say that they want to go to a different platform because they think they're going to get more traffic on that platform. That's not the case. Wherever your website is, if you don't send traffic there, nobody's going to know it exists. The reality is, and I know I've told you guys this before, only about 10% of websites get organic traffic. And organic meaning when somebody types something in that your website pops up anywhere near that first page, So it can be a little difficult to get that rolling, but once you build and launch your website, you want to try to do some campaigns, have some money aside to run some ads, make sure that you're telling everyone you know that your website is now there and to go check it out and to get them to interact a little bit. What we don't want is people, maybe going to the home page and then leaving. That's considered a bounce, and that'll be a bad marker or signal to the algorithm with Google. We want people to go there, maybe go through a couple pages, maybe tell them to, go to your domain name and then go to this page to see my ebook. Whatever it is, get people to go to the site and take some actions, whether that's clicking through or signing up for something. That will help, but also you need to let people like Google know that you exist by either setting up your Google business listing, or they also have a service called Search Console. And that allows you to, again, just kind of register your site with them so they know, and they'll give you messages saying that what they don't like about your site and why they may not send traffic to your site. Google is pretty good about giving us the tools we need to make sure that we show up on their pages in their search results. So that was a lot of information about website building platforms. I hope I haven't completely overwhelmed you, but I do think it's important that you know these things so that you're not going in and building out a website and then finding out a year later that you have to redo it because it doesn't work with anything else. I've seen that happen way too many times to people, and it's sad because they just spent all this money, maybe $1,000+ to get a website created for them that they can't even use now. So let's make sure that you're planning this well from the start, that you're going to have a platform that will allow you to grow with it, and that you're going to be open to whatever campaigns that you want to do in the future, that you'll be able to do them with ease. We don't want all of this having to, do things manually or go around in circles. Forget all that. Let's make sure we're doing it right from the first point, and we can grow from there, right? I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. If you have any questions, please feel free to just put them in the chat here, and I'm happy to answer. But definitely reach out if you need a quick consultation and help deciding which platform is for you. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.